My fiancé forgot to end the call, and I overheard a heartbreaking conversation with his family that changed everything. We'd been together for 4 years. Damien proposed on a beach at sunset, the whole romantic setup. His family loved. His mom called me her future daughter. His sister and I were already planning joint vacations. I thought I knew everything about the man I was going to marry. That Tuesday, he called during his lunch break like always. We talked about wedding flowers and honeymoon destinations. Normal couple stuff. When he said he had to go, I heard the line click but not disconnect. I was about to hang up when I heard his mother's voice in the background. "Did you tell her yet?" My finger froze over the end call button. "No," Damien said. "I can't. Not until after the wedding. This is getting out of hand," his mother replied. "Olivia deserves to know the truth before she marries into this family." My heart started racing. I pressed the phone harder against my ear. "She'll leave if I tell her now," Damien said quietly. "I've already lost Rachel. I can't lose her too." Rachel, his college girlfriend he claimed just drifted apart from him, the one he never wanted to talk about. "You didn't lose Rachel," his father's voice cut in. "She made a choice after finding out. A reasonable choice." "That was different," Damien argued. "Rachel wasn't as understanding." "Understanding?" His sister laughed bitterly. "You mean naive? Olivia has no idea what she's signing up for." I was shaking now. Whatever this was, his entire family knew, and they'd all smiled at me, hugged me, welcomed me while hiding something big enough to make his ex-girlfriend leave. "The prenup should protect us legally," his mother said. "But morally this is wrong. That poor girl thinks she's marrying a normal man with a normal family." "She is," Damien snapped. "I'm not Dad. I'm not doing what he did." "You're doing exactly what he did," his sister said. "You're trapping someone with lies and a legal contract before revealing the truth." Silence. Then Damien spoke so quietly I almost missed it. "She loves me. Once we're married, she'll understand. She'll stay because she loves me." "Just like Mom stayed?" his sister asked. "Your mother stayed because she chose to," his father said coldly. "Because she understood the benefits outweighed the inconvenience." Inconvenience. They kept using these vague terms that made my skin crawl. "I need to go," Damien said. "I'm meeting her family for dinner tonight. They want to finalize the guest list. Just remember," his mother warned, "once she signs that prenup, there's no backing out. For either of you. Make sure this is what you want before you trap her the way your father trapped me." The line went dead. I sat in my car for 2 hours, phone in my lap, trying to process what I'd heard. That night at dinner with my parents, I watched Damien laugh and joke like nothing had happened. He held my hand across the table, kissed my forehead when we said goodbye. I went home and did something I'd never done before. I searched for Rachel online, found her Instagram after an hour of digging, sent her a message at 2 hours a.m. "I'm engaged to Damien. I overheard something today. Please, I need to know what happened with you." She responded at 6 hour a.m. "Call me. You need to hear this before you sign anything." We talked for 3 hours. By the end, I was crying so hard I could barely breathe. Everything made sense now. The family's weird comments, the prenup they'd insisted on, the way Damien had rushed the engagement. That afternoon, I put on my engagement ring and drove to Damien's office. He smiled when he saw me, that same loving smile I'd fallen for 4 years ago. "Hey, beautiful. What brings you here?" I set my phone on his desk, pulled up the recording I'd made during my call with Rachel. His face went white. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "And you're going to tell me everything, right now." He reached for my hand. I pulled away. "Olivia, let me explain." "I already know." I cut him off. "Rachel told me everything. About your father. About what happens in your family. About the real reason you need that prenup." His jaw clenched. For the first time in 4 years, I saw something cold flash across his face before he forced it back into concern. "Then you know it's not as bad as it sounds," he said carefully. "Rachel overreacted. She didn't understand the full picture. She understood perfectly." I stood up, creating distance between us. "Your father has 3 other families. 3. Your mother knew about them before they got married. But your dad hid the extent of it. She thought she was wife number 2. She was actually wife number 4. That's Dad, not me," Damien said quickly. "I told you, I'm different." "You have a daughter," I said. The words felt like glass in my throat. "A 3-year-old daughter with a woman named Christina. You see her every other weekend when you tell me you're visiting your college buddy in Portland." The color drained from his face completely. "And that's not all," I continued, my voice shaking now. "You're still legally married to someone named Jennifer. Have been for 6 years. You never got divorced. You were going to commit bigamy by marrying me." "It's complicated," he whispered. "Oh, it gets better." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Your family has been running this scam for 3 generations. Your grandfather had 7 families. Your father has 5. All the women sign ironclad prenups before the wedding, thinking they're protecting the family assets. But the prenup actually prevents them from claiming bigamy or fraud. It locks them into silence with financial penalties so severe that leaving would bankrupt them and their extended families." Damien's hands were shaking. He tried to speak, but I wasn't finished. "The prenup I was about to sign had a clause buried in page 47. Did you think I wouldn't read it? It said I acknowledged being informed of all existing marriages and agreed not to disclose them publicly or legally. Except you never informed me. That clause would have trapped me the second I signed, making it impossible to claim I didn't know. Legal proof of consent to bigamy." "You don't understand the benefits," he started. "Benefits?" My voice rose. "You mean the nice house? The allowance? The social status? While I share my husband with how many other women? How many were you planning, Damien? 3 like your grandfather? 5 like your dad? Or were you going to go for a record?" He finally met my eyes. What I saw there made my stomach turn. Not guilt, not shame, calculation. "You love me," he said. "I know you do, and I love you. This doesn't change that. This changes everything, does it?" He stood up, moving closer. We're good together. You'd have financial security, a beautiful home, a place in society you'd never want for anything, and I'd be with you at least 3 days a week, more than some married couples see each other. 3 days a week? I repeated numbly. Jennifer gets Mondays and Tuesdays. Christina gets Wednesdays and Thursdays. You'd get Fridays through Sundays. The best days. And I'd never lie to you again about it. Full transparency moving forward. I stared at him. This man I'd loved. This man I'd planned a life with. He genuinely thought this was a reasonable offer. There are others, aren't there? I asked. Women you haven't married yet, but are planning to. His silence was answer enough. How many? 2, he admitted quietly. But they don't know about each other or you? I was going to space out the weddings. You first, then Naomi next year, then Petra the year after. 5 wives. My legs felt weak. You were going to have 5 wives. It's not about the number, he said, like that made it better. It's about building a family empire. Multiple households, multiple income streams, multiple women you can control through illegal marriages and financial traps. Women I care about, he corrected. Women who'd have better lives than they could build alone. My mother has a $20 million trust. Jennifer just opened her 3rd boutique. Christina runs a successful gallery. They're all thriving. They're all prisoners, I said. Rachel told me about your mother. How she tried to leave 10 years ago and your father threatened to sue her entire family into bankruptcy. How Jennifer had a breakdown last year and spent 3 months in a facility. How Christina drinks herself to sleep every night because she knows her daughter will never have a normal family. They made choices, Damien said, his voice hardening. Adult choices with full information. Eventually. Eventually? I grabbed my purse. You mean after they were already trapped? Where are you going? Away from you. I headed for the door. He grabbed my arm, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop me. I looked at his hand, then at his face. Let go. Olivia, please. Just think about this rationally. Look at the whole picture. I am looking at the whole picture. I yanked my arm free. And it's a portrait of lies, manipulation, and criminal fraud. I'm going to the police. His expression changed instantly. The pleading vanished, replaced by something cold and sharp. With what evidence? A conversation you recorded without consent? That's illegal in this state. And Rachel's testimony? She signed an NDA as part of her breakup settlement. If she spoke to you, she's in breach of contract. She'll owe my family $2 million. My blood went cold. You're threatening her? I'm explaining reality. You have no admissible evidence, no proof, just hearsay and an illegally recorded phone call. He straightened his tie, suddenly looking more like his father. And if you do go to the police, I'll be forced to show them the emails. What emails? The ones you've been sending to my business partners. He pulled out his phone, showing me a screen I'd never seen before. Accusing me of fraud, trying to damage my reputation, harassment. I've been documenting everything, building a case for a restraining order if needed. I never sent those. Metadata says otherwise. IP address traces back to your laptop. Timestamps, everything. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm good at this, Olivia. My family has been perfecting these systems for decades. Every angle covered. Every exit blocked. I realized then how thoroughly I'd been played. How carefully he'd been preparing for this exact moment. You never loved me, I whispered. I do love you, he said. And for a second, I almost believed him. But love and business aren't mutually exclusive in my family. I can love you and still need you to play your role. That's what marriage is in my world. I pulled off the engagement ring. A 3-carat diamond that probably cost less than the legal trap he'd been building around me. Set it on his desk. I'm not marrying you. You'll reconsider. He didn't even look at the ring. Once you calm down and think about what you're giving up. Financial security, social status, a man who genuinely cares about you. A man who was going to commit bigamy and trap me in a fraudulent marriage. A man who was offering you a partnership in something bigger than a traditional marriage. But if you're not interested, that's fine. I have other options. Naomi, Petra, other women he'd been courting, lying to, preparing to trap. I'm telling them, I said. I'm warning them about you. No, you're not. He leaned against his desk, completely relaxed now. Because if you do, I'll sue you for defamation. I'll sue Rachel for breach of contract. I'll make both your lives so legally complicated and expensive that you'll wish you just walked away quietly. You can't stop me from telling the truth. I can make the truth very expensive to tell. He checked his watch. I have a meeting in 10 minutes. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to go home and think about this. Really think about it. About what you're gaining versus what you're losing. And in a few days, when you're ready to be reasonable, we'll talk about moving forward. I'm done talking to you. We'll see. He opened his office door for me. Give it a week, then call me. I'll be waiting. I walked out, made it to my car before my hands started shaking so hard I couldn't get the key in the ignition. Sat there for 20 minutes, trying to breathe, trying to think. He was right about one thing. I had no real evidence. An accidentally recorded phone call that might be inadmissible. A conversation with Rachel that she could be sued for. My word against his family's entire legal apparatus. But he was wrong about something else. I wasn't giving up. I drove straight to a coffee shop 3 blocks away and ordered a large latte I didn't drink. Instead, I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Every conversation. Every weird comment from his family. Every detail Rachel had shared. I saved it all to 3 different cloud services using passwords Damien didn't know. Then I called my older brother. Marcus was an investigative journalist for a major newspaper. He'd broken stories about corporate fraud, political corruption, and organized crime. If anyone could help me, it was him. He answered on the second ring. Hey sis, what's up? I need your help, I said. And I think I might have the story of your career. We met at his apartment an hour later. I told him everything, showed him my notes, the recording, screenshots of my conversation with Rachel. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. This is bigger than just Damien, he finally said. If they've been doing this for 3 generations, there's a network. Multiple families, shell companies, legal structures designed to hide systematic fraud. This isn't just bigamy, it's organized crime. Can you investigate it? Can I? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Olivia, this is massive, but it's also dangerous. These people have resources, connections, and a proven track record of silencing threats. If I start digging, they'll know. I don't care if they know, I want them stopped. He studied my face. You understand what you're starting? This isn't just breaking up with a bad boyfriend. This is taking on an entire criminal enterprise. They'll come after you. Legally, socially, maybe worse. They're already threatening me. And there are other women who don't know what they're walking into. I thought about Naomi and Petra, whoever they were. I can't let him do this to anyone else. My brother nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this right, carefully. We build an airtight case before we publish anything, and you need protection. Protection? Legal and physical. These people play hardball. He grabbed his phone. I'm calling my editor, and then we're calling a lawyer I know who specializes in fraud cases, someone who won't be scared of their legal threats. Over the next 3 weeks, my life became a covert operation. Marcus connected me with an attorney named Patricia Valdez. She'd made her career taking down white-collar criminals and had a reputation for being absolutely fearless. In our first meeting, she listened to my story and immediately recognized the legal trap Damien had been building. The prenup is genius in a completely evil way, she said, flipping through the document. It technically discloses the polygamy situation, but in language so buried and obscure that no reasonable person would catch it without a legal degree. And by making you confirm you've been informed of all material facts, it creates a legal shield for them. Can we use it as evidence? I asked. Absolutely. Unconscionable contracts can be challenged, and this is about as unconscionable as they come, but more importantly, it's proof of intent. They knew they were committing fraud and built a legal structure to enable it. She smiled grimly. That's conspiracy. While Patricia built a legal case, Marcus started investigating the family's history. What he found was staggering. Damien's grandfather had started the scheme in the 1960s. He'd married 7 women across 4 states, none knowing about the others. He'd built a construction empire using their combined incomes and inheritances, funneling money through shell corporations. When he died, he left behind a complicated trust structure that supported all 7 families, while keeping them legally separated and silent. Damien's father had refined the system, 5 wives, each thinking they were entering a legitimate marriage with a wealthy businessman. The prenups had evolved into sophisticated legal traps. The shell companies had multiplied, and the family had diversified into real estate, investments, and venture capital. Between the grandfather and father, they'd defrauded over 30 women out of millions of dollars in combined assets and inheritance rights. And it's still running, Marcus said during one of our meetings. Damien has 2 brothers. Each of them is following the same pattern. Multiple fiancés in different stages. Ironclad prenups. We're looking at potentially 50 victims across 3 generations. How have they gotten away with this? I asked. Money, power, and fear. They threaten legal action against anyone who speaks out. They have judges and lawyers in their pocket. And the victims are too scared or too financially trapped to fight back. He showed me a list of names. I found 12 women who might be willing to talk. Ex-girlfriends who got away, current wives who are miserable, women who suspected something was wrong but couldn't prove it. We need to talk to them, I said. I'll reach out carefully, but Olivia, you need to be prepared. Some of them won't want to help. They're either too scared or they've convinced themselves that their situation is acceptable. Stockholm Syndrome is real. He was right. Of the 12 women he contacted, only 4 agreed to talk. The first was Jennifer, Damien's legal wife. She met us at a park, away from cameras and listening devices. She looked exhausted, much older than her 32 years. I've been trying to leave for 3 years, she said quietly. But every time I try, they threaten to take my business. Everything I've built is technically owned by their shell company. If I leave, I lose it all. What about divorce? Patricia asked. Jennifer laughed bitterly. Divorce requires admitting we're married. But according to the prenup, if I file for divorce before 20 years of marriage, I'm in breach of contract. I owe them $10 million in penalties. That's not enforceable, Patricia said firmly. Maybe not, but fighting it would cost more than I have. They know that. They're counting on it. Jennifer looked at me. Don't feel bad for walking away. You're smarter than I was. The second was Christina, the mother of Damien's daughter. She was angrier than Jennifer, less resigned. He lied about everything, she said. Told me he was divorced. Told me he wanted a real family. I got pregnant and suddenly there was this prenup I had to sign if I wanted any financial support. I was 6 months pregnant and broke. What choice did I have? Does your daughter know? I asked. She thinks her daddy works far away. That's why he only visits twice a month. Christina's eyes filled with tears. She's going to grow up thinking this is normal, that fathers are part-time accessories. I'm trapped in this nightmare, and I'm dragging her into it with me. The third was Rachel. We met at her apartment, the first time I'd seen her in person. She'd been the one to warn me, risking legal action to save a stranger. Why did you help me? I asked. You could have just stayed silent, because I know what it's like to realize too late. She showed me a folder thick with documents. I'd already signed the prenup when I found out about Jennifer. Damien convinced me that she was his ex, that the prenup was just standard procedure. I believed him until I hired a private investigator and discovered the truth. How did you get out? I didn't really. I'm still bound by the NDA. If I speak publicly about what happened, I owe them $2 million. But I'm not going to let him trap someone else the way he trapped me. So when you reached out, I took the risk. We're going to fight this, Patricia assured her. All of you. These contracts are fraudulent. The NDAs won't hold up. Rachel looked skeptical. His family has an army of lawyers. So do I, Patricia said with a fierce smile. The fourth woman surprised me. Damien's sister, Vanessa. She'd been silent during the overheard phone conversation, but Marcus tracked her down and she agreed to meet. She was younger than Damien, maybe 25, and she looked haunted. I've watched this destroy my entire family, she said. My mom pretends everything is fine, but she's been on antidepressants for years. My dad treats women like collectibles. My brothers think this is normal, that having multiple secret families is just successful business strategy. Why are you helping us? I asked. Because I'm engaged, she said quietly. And my fiancé doesn't know about any of this. He thinks he's marrying into a normal, wealthy family. But my father has already told me that I need to follow the family model, have multiple relationships, keep everyone separate and controlled, maximize assets through strategic marriages. That's insane, I said. That's my family. She looked directly at me. I don't want to become my mother. I don't want to perpetuate this. So if you can stop them, I'll help however I can. With 4 women willing to testify and Vanessa providing insider information about the family's operations, we had the foundation of a case. Marcus spent 6 weeks investigating, interviewing, and documenting everything. He found the shell companies, traced the money flows, interviewed former employees who'd seen suspicious activities. He built a timeline spanning 3 generations of systematic fraud. Patricia filed a multi-party lawsuit. Jennifer, Christina, and Rachel as plaintiffs, suing for fraud, breach of contract, and emotional damages. It named Damien, his father, his brothers, and the family's corporate entities. And I worked with the district attorney's office providing evidence for criminal charges: bigamy, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. The day the story broke, my phone exploded with messages. Marcus's article ran on the front page of a major newspaper. Multi-generational marriage fraud. How one family systematically deceived dozens of women. It had everything. Documents, testimonies, photos. The legal structure laid bare. The pattern of behavior exposed. Within hours, it went viral. By evening, it was on every news channel. By the next morning, Damien's office was swarmed with reporters and investigators. My phone buzzed. Damien's name on the screen. I answered, putting him on speaker with Patricia present. You destroyed my life, he said. No pretense of charm now, pure rage. No, I replied calmly. I exposed your crimes. You destroyed your own life by committing them. We'll sue you into oblivion. Defamation, breach of privacy, theft of proprietary information. Try it, Patricia cut in. Every word in that article is documented fact. Every claim backed by evidence. You want to sue? Great. It'll give us discovery rights to everything you've been hiding. Silence. Then, my lawyers say we can tie this up in court for years. While the criminal charges proceed, Patricia said, you're looking at multiple counts of bigamy, fraud, and conspiracy. That's not going away with civil litigation, that's prison time. The line went dead. 3 days later, Naomi contacted me. She'd seen the articles. Damien had been engaged to her for 6 months. She'd been scheduled to sign a prenup the following week. He told me you were a crazy ex-girlfriend, she said when we met. He said you were making everything up because I rejected you. I rejected him, I corrected. After finding out the truth, she looked shaken. I almost signed that prenup. I almost married him. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I'm not. She met my eyes. I'm grateful. You saved me from making the worst mistake of my life. Petra was harder to find. She lived in another state and Damien had isolated her from most of her friends and family. But Marcus tracked her down and she agreed to talk. When she heard the full story, she broke down. I left my job for him, she sobbed. Moved across the country. Told my parents we were getting married next summer. They're so proud. They think I'm engaged to this successful businessman. And the whole time, he was already married to multiple people. It's not your fault, I told her. He's a professional liar. His entire family is. She looked at me with something between grief and anger. How do I tell my parents? How do I explain that I was this stupid? You weren't stupid. You were trusting. There's a difference. The legal process moved faster than I expected. With so much evidence and media attention, prosecutors prioritized the case. Damien's father was arrested first, facing 15 counts of bigamy and 23 counts of fraud. His brothers were arrested days later. Damien turned himself in with his lawyers. He tried to negotiate a plea deal, offering to testify against his father in exchange for reduced charges. But with testimonies from Jennifer, Christina, Rachel, and 8 other women who came forward after seeing the articles, prosecutors didn't need his cooperation. The trial lasted 3 months. I testified for 2 days, walking the jury through everything: the overheard phone call, my conversation with Rachel, the prenup documents, the threatening meeting in Damien's office. His lawyers tried to paint me as a vindictive ex-girlfriend. Patricia destroyed that narrative with evidence: phone records, the prenup itself, testimonies from multiple victims describing identical patterns of behavior. When the verdict came in, I was sitting between Jennifer and Christina, guilty on all counts. Damien's father got 18 years. His brothers got 12 and 14 respectively. Damien got 16 years. The civil case took longer, but eventually, we won. The courts invalidated the prenups, dissolved the shell companies, and ordered full financial disclosure. Jennifer got her business back. Christina got child support and full custody. Rachel got her NDA voided and financial compensation. And me? I got my life back. But it wasn't that simple. The months after the trial were hard. I had nightmares about what could have happened if I hadn't overheard that phone call, if I'd signed that prenup, if I'd married him. I went to therapy, joined a support group for victims of relationship fraud, slowly rebuilt my sense of trust in people and in my own judgment. Marcus won a journalism award for his investigation. Patricia became known nationally as the attorney who took down a criminal empire. Rachel started a nonprofit to help victims of relationship fraud escape dangerous situations. And I started speaking publicly about my experience, how easy it is to be manipulated by someone you love, how important it is to trust your instincts, how you should never ignore red flags just because someone seems perfect. A year after the trial, I was giving a talk at a university about recognizing manipulative relationships when a young woman approached me afterward. "Thank you," she said. "My boyfriend has been pushing me to sign a prenup, and after hearing your story, I actually read it. There's stuff buried in there that doesn't make sense. I think he's hiding something. Trust your instincts," I told her. "And maybe talk to a lawyer before you sign anything." 2 weeks later, she emailed me. She'd hired an attorney to review the prenup and discovered her boyfriend was already married. She'd called off the engagement. "You saved me," she wrote, "just like Rachel saved you." That's when I realized this was bigger than just my story. This was about breaking a cycle, about speaking up so others wouldn't suffer. Vanessa reached out to me 6 months after the trial. She'd broken up with her fiancé, not because he'd done anything wrong, but because she needed time to process her family's crimes and figure out who she was outside of their influence. "I'm in therapy," she told me, "trying to understand how I normalized all of this for so long, how I thought this was just how wealthy families operated. It's not your fault," I said. "You were raised in it. You didn't know anything different. But I should have questioned it. I should have done something sooner." She looked at me. "You were a stranger, and you fought my entire family. I was his sister, and I stayed silent. You helped in the end. That matters." "Does it?" She seemed genuinely uncertain. "Sometimes I think I should have warned more women, told the authorities years ago. You did what you could when you could. That's all any of us can do." She nodded slowly. "I testified at my father's parole hearing last month. Made sure the board knew he shouldn't get out early. They denied his petition." "Good. My mother filed for divorce finally. She's getting help. Real help." Vanessa smiled slightly. "Maybe it's not too late for her to have an actual life." 2 years after everything happened, I met someone new. His name was Brendan, and he was nothing like Damien. He was an elementary school teacher, transparent to a fault, and his family consisted of exactly the people he said they were. No hidden wives or secret children. On our 5th date, I told him the whole story. Everything. I figured if he was going to run, better to find out early. He listened quietly, then said, "That's horrifying. I'm so sorry you went through that. You're not scared off?" "Scared off?" He looked genuinely confused. "Why would I be scared off? You're brave. You took down a criminal operation and saved people. That's impressive. I'm also kind of traumatized and have trust issues. Who wouldn't be after that?" He reached across the table and took my hand. "But trauma doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. And trust is something we build together, slowly, with honesty and time. We've been together for a year now. He's met my family. I've met his. We talk about everything openly. When I have a bad day and start questioning everything, he doesn't get defensive. He just reminds me that I can check his phone, his emails, his entire life anytime I need to. I have nothing to hide," he always says. "And I'll prove that to you as many times as you need." I don't check his phone. I don't need to. Because the difference between him and Damien is that Brendan's transparency is real, not a performance. Last month, Jennifer opened her 5th boutique. Christina's daughter started kindergarten at a great school. Rachel's nonprofit has helped over 100 women escape fraudulent relationships. Vanessa started law school planning to specialize in family law. And me? I finished my master's degree in social work and now counsel victims of relationship fraud. I help people recognize manipulation. I teach them about red flags and trust and healthy boundaries. Sometimes people ask if I regret not noticing the signs earlier. If I wish I'd never dated Damien in the first place. I don't regret it. Because that relationship taught me the most important lesson of my life. That love should never require you to sacrifice your truth, your safety, or your sanity. And more importantly, it taught me that speaking up matters. That one person's courage can save dozens of others. That breaking silence breaks cycles. Last week, I received a letter from a woman I'd never met. She'd seen one of my talks online and recognized similar patterns in her own relationship. She'd left before signing the prenup her boyfriend had been pushing. She'd discovered he had 2 other fiancés. "You saved my life," she wrote. "By sharing your story, you gave me permission to trust my instincts and walk away." That's why I keep telling this story. Why I keep speaking publicly, even when it's hard. Why I answered honestly when you asked what happened after I confronted Damien in his office. Because somewhere out there is another woman sitting in a car, phone in her lap, listening to a conversation she wasn't supposed to hear. And she needs to know what I know now. That the hardest part of leaving isn't walking away from who you thought they were. It's accepting who they actually are. And choosing yourself anyway. That sometimes love is a lie designed to trap you. And the most loving thing you can do is